'Tis. I have no idea why that song's not on my playlist for my workout routine. I have no idea. Tommy Burnett from Fairport, New York.
Oh, my God.
The donation. How you been, buddy?
Oh, been good. Haven't seen you for a while, but,
I know.
feels like we're back in the saddle again, so
Let's take
it's all
this
good.
ride.
It's all good.
Hey, NFL's over, but now it's a big moving season and all that. How's Pittsburgh making out?
We're not looking too good, but we did get Metcalf, from Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I guessed on the show as
Gus
a
was talking
Seattle
about
lover,
Seattle
so
second,
I'm all with it. And, Justin Fields went to the Jets, so
I know.
that kind of hurt me, but.
And the Jets lose a quarterback or not? I'm confused. What's his name?
Aaron
go
Rodgers?
anywhere?
Oh, my God.
Where'd he go?
Pittsburgh might be picking him up.
Oh, that'd be a swap.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
interesting.
We got problems.
All right, we got to stay in cutting edge here on this whole NFL thing. It's baseball season's coming really quick.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I get distracted. March Madness right around the corner.
Yeah.
I'm excited. NCAA fan?
Oh, yeah.
College basketball?
Yep.
What's your team?
Syracuse.
Of course,
I like
yeah.
the local stuff,
What's the team that you can root for? I'm a big. You come to my room. There's autographs in my office. It's a Syracuse. I'm a Syracuse, but it's just been disappointing for 3 years.
What? I like Duke, but the problem is Duke. They get all the top level players.
Right. Yeah. Some great teams out there. Arkansas. I'm looking at it, but anyways, we'll digress back into this podcast that we're supposed to be doing, not the sports, but a good friend of mine, Michael VanRoo, is here today. A former lieutenant commander. What was your final rank with the Rochester Police Department?
Lieutenant,
right? Yeah,
yes.
That's right. We worked together in the RPD and known him for years. But before I came here at the sheriff's office, he came over to run our statewide automated biometric identification system. Say that 3 times quick. Also known as S.A.B.I.S, or fingerprints, right?
That
Identifying
is correct.
fingerprints, gathering and identifying and making positive IDs and solving crimes and helping out with court systems. And
Absolutely, helping
it's
out
a big lift.
criminal cases when I can.
yeah, so this S.A.B.I.S coordinator position you hold, this is not just Monroe County, although Monroe County Sheriff's Office hosts this position and hires great people like you. You support a region with this whole fingerprint thing, right?
Yeah, we support a 12-county region. We go all the way down to the Pennsylvania border and support Chemung and Steuben County, as
That's
well
awesome.
as our neighboring counties.
Absolutely. And so what is S.A.B.I.S for the, I gave the acronym and spelled it out in depth really fast, but what is S.A.B.I.S? What do you do for a living?
S.A.B.I.S uses our data, fingerprints that we collect at crime scenes and fingerprints that we collect at bookings. And through technology, we're able to search crime scene fingerprints very rapidly using our data, and hopefully bring in a direction to criminal cases by providing solvability factors through our tech work. So it's truly a one-team concept through what our technicians do, what our corrections officers do in the booking process, and applying it to law enforcement, giving leads to cases.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Like we talked before offline, the fact is there are a lot of things that kids see out there, and you got one of the cooler jobs out there. You know what I mean? You guys out there dusting for fingerprints, doing, bringing it to fruition. But one thing I want to ask you, 26 years in law enforcement already. What made you come back? What made you come back and jump back into this? And you got one of the cooler gigs out there, brother.
Well, I wouldn't say I left and I came back. I retired RPD on a Friday, and I started working here on a Monday. So
you had the weekend, right?
Yeah. I had the weekend off, and it was an opportunity to still be involved with law enforcement in a civilian capacity without all the call-ins and the bureaucracy and the meetings and the multitasking. The opportunity to come in and do one thing and focus on one thing to help other people, that was very enticing to me. And 26 years was a great career, and it was nice to do one thing and do it well.
Wow.
Back in the RPD, you worked homicide, right? You
Yes,
worked the homicide unit, and so everybody thinks of those crime scenes. They've seen the TV shows where there's a lifted print off some unique piece of paper or something like that, and it goes to a person like you to make that positive identification, establish probable cause for arrest, and even conviction in court beyond a reasonable doubt. That fingerprint is such powerful evidence, and to be able to obtain the expertise that you have. What kind of training do you have to go through to become this S.A.B.I.S coordinator, or the expert witness, if you will, on these identifications?
I was very lucky. During the 1990s, I was an evidence technician with RPD. So from 1993 to 2001, They provided a avenue where I received training, and I was able to put that training to work. So they supported me with almost 600 hours of training in the
That's
field,
amazing.
in the fingerprint science specifically, and I never forgot that. And I try to use that training to help others. There's mentorship on the evidence technician side.
Right.
So yearly I teach at crime scene schools, and then there's the technology itself, the competency to state my opinion in court and with a quick turnaround time, just be a benefit to the community. I believe we can help not only solve crime, we can prevent crime by our timeliness, by getting our information out.
Right. And prevent the next victim, possibly, if we can make an apprehension. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, about the way that a lot of the crimes are being solved now. They're and it seems like at a quicker pace, which is good in the fact that you got grieving families out there want to know what happened. But how do you keep on top with the accuracy of the finding of that fingerprint?
Well, with any science, you have to have a predictable reliability. So it's just not like VanRoo's opinion. We have to have verification. So I do not work in a vacuum. I do not work alone. It's the result of teamwork. So I rely on verifiers. We have a good team at RPD that verifies our work. The Rondequoit Police Department has a participant, John Reinders, that is heavily involved. So it's a team concept, and there are verification steps. So we're just not putting my opinion out there. We're putting out a collaboration of other people coming to the same agreement and presenting our opinion to investigators as well as court.
And speaking of court, I was talking to someone just the other day, not realizing this podcast was coming up. We were talking about they're in the court system and they're listening to you. They love when you come in to testify. As people can tell, you're methodical, you're straightforward. There's, you get the facts. And,
You can tell he's thorough.
Just so you know, you got a fan club out there over in the court system when you come in to testify.
It's very kind of you. I look around the courtroom sometimes, and I find I put people to sleep. I know Deputy Tisdale works at the courts, and hear him sit through my testimony. It can be a snoozer. It's dry. It's boring.
It's fact, man. It convicts people.
Yeah.
It convicts people.
You have to lay that foundation before you can get to
right.
your opinion.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the foundation's boring, and it's not what people see on TV. So we have to overcome that CSI effect as well.
Yeah. We're always fighting that battle, right? And, one of the other reasons I didn't realize until I came to the sheriff's office and started talking to you more about your job description is, going over and doing predicate felon identifications and things like that. We think about lifting prints at crime scenes and making a comparison, but, some people are being convicted of crimes and predicate will hold them more responsible to the community, and you got to go over and, testify that.
Absolutely. It's just not crime scene fingerprints that are involved with S.A.B.I.S. We have other avenues of investigation. We do prior felony conviction for the district attorney offices in the 12-county region, and we also do a lot of work for the medical examiners. So assisting the criminal justice system at sentencing is a big deal so that people who are already convicted can receive the maximum sentence. So a lot of people will argue that the person fingerprinted for previous convictions are not them. Right. And they have their due process. So we have to go through all the steps of re-fingerprinting them under an order to show cause, comparing those fingerprints to prior convictions, and formulating an opinion that we have to tell the court so that it can arrive at decisions on the judicial matters.
Now, how do you explain that? You got some young guys that might be watching this show, and they looking at this, and this is cool, and like you said, you're thinking of CSI and all these other shows out there, detective shows. How's that work environment? I mean, is it more or less that you're always, alone? We know a lot of the pictures we've seen of your video, you're by yourself. Is it in a sterile environment? I mean, what is it?
It's why I chose this path. There's a solitude there that's, very healthy. It's I pick and choose when I want to go out and meet retirees for lunch. I have my hobbies and interests, and this is work solitude. Sheriff Baxter can attest to our prior history. A lot of meetings.
Yeah.
A lot of follow-up, a lot of customers. This is one-dimensional, just another opportunity to take one thing and do it well.
It's amazing. And one of the things we're going through now is accreditation. of S.A.B.I.S, accreditation of the fingerprint program, if you will. And if you think of accreditation, it's a good thing. I'm part of the New York State Accreditation Council for Law Enforcement, right? And so we accredit police departments, make sure they're holding standards high and they got good policies and procedures, and it's a good checks and balance. But the unfolding with speed of now all of a sudden you got to accreditate these S.A.B.I.S coordinators and these. It's another. I wouldn't say reform because I think it's a good thing. But it came so fast, so heavy, with no financial considerations, and the fact that we're on the verge of losing you. We're on the verge of losing this expertise. We're on the verge of being able to do this service for 12 other counties, or going over to the courthouse and being able to say that's a predicate felon. I can identify him with the snap of a finger. And we really had to jump through hoops. And I know you've been jumping through a lot of hoops and doing a lot of study, a lot of research, a lot of screaming, a lot of yelling. People find that hard to believe when they see his demeanor here, but because you're passionate about this. And where are we at with the accreditation process? I know we've tried to get the funding for it and get you support and get enough manpower to make this happen. And the two-part question is, how's the other regions looking? I mean, are people going to be losing this ability in other regions, do you think?
Yes. So to give some context, we'll go back to 2021. At that time, law enforcement had the ability under New York State executive law to provide fingerprint services and do opinion-based testimony based on the fingerprint sciences. The legislation changed. It was the same year with bail reform, raise the age, discovery, HALT Act, all those goodies.
Yep.
We were, about the same time, it was mandated that we need to become an accredited lab come September 1st of 2026 to provide the current services that we do. And I have no problem with accreditation in itself. These are very rigorous standards that are beneficial. However, I wasn't too happy with the lack of conversation. This is a big ticket item that has high cost, and these issues need to be discussed, especially in an environment where there's a lot of, F the police and defund the police. You need to have these conversations. And if our legislatures are voting on something like this, the Sheriff Foundation, police chiefs throughout the state, they need to have this conversation, and they need to understand what is involved, the manpower that is needed, as well as the costs. So since 2021, we are on a path to accreditation. We've had the privilege to hire a consultant to come in, and that's at a $300,000 price tag.
Think about that. Unfunded mandate.
Yeah.
Right?
And there's other agencies that have done the same, Rockland County and Suffolk. So you're almost at $1 million to get 3 agencies to begin the accreditation process. That's a good chunk of money. It's taxpayer money, and you have to take that in consideration. On the flip side, other agencies have folded up their fingerprint units. Syracuse, Binghamton, Chautauqua, under this mandate, they will no longer be doing this service. So you have good agencies that are no longer carrying on, and you have some agencies which have elected to pursue accreditation. So it's very tedious. It's a good thing, but it has significant staffing and financial consequences.
Yeah, and when we talk about these reforms, if you will, that's what we keep on beating the drum is, just sit down and talk to the end users on these reforms. We could do both, but you can't just throw stuff out there and expect agencies to adapt and keep on adapting when there's 7, 8 huge reforms coming down the pipe. It's impossible. It's expensive. It's, we had many meetings. We're throwing in the towel. We're going to do this, and the loss would have been too great for our community. The loss would have been too great for our police officers, for our victims of crime, for our district attorney's office. So we're driving through this, and it's a push. We're pushing against the stream almost every day. But and I'll just throw smoke up your pant like one more time. I don't know if I would have made that choice if you weren't here. I don't know if as a sheriff, I would have committed these resources and these efforts into it if you weren't here, because not only you're the driving force, but you're the expert, and I can say we can build around Mike VanRoo, right? And I don't know if these other agencies had the privilege of having someone like you doing this, but it was a huge decision. Do we power through this and get this done? Because the other side is you can always go to New York State Police and put your fingerprints into them, and they'll make a comparison, but it might be not timely enough for a murder investigation, or not timely enough for a predicate felon determination, right?
Exactly.
They're great people, but
yeah, there's cause and consequence. For example, right now, in the same day or same week, we're able to provide you an answer on a minor crime, not just major crimes. So we've had animal cruelty cases out of Ontario where, it's a big deal to those folks, and they get answers to animal cruelty cases within a couple days, and they're able to follow up and to hold the people accountable. We still do a lot of stolen cars. We're getting answers to, who's involved with our stolen car crisis, and we still do aggravated assault and homicide. So it's the totality. The broken window theory is alive and well with the S.A.B.I.S mentality here at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. If you take the time to lift their fingerprint, we will do our due diligence to conduct an analysis, and if they're in the database, give you the answers so that you can pursue your case.
That's awesome.
That's what I like. I love that when you talk about, and timely factors and that. And we all know in America, things are out there, crime, like you said, crimes happening, God forsake, murders and different things out there. But the fact is, when you can get it in a timely basis, when you got good techs out there doing their job and diligent, doing what they do. But how do you deal with the fact that you're managing this unit? I mean, what does that say to you? How do you feel about this, the whole encompassing of the whole unit?
The job title says manager, but at this point, it's a 1 or 2 person band as far as actually entering the cases through S.A.B.I.S, but it's a team mentality behind the keyboard. I can't put stuff in unless it's brought to me. So I got to give a positive nod to the tech units that are in our region. They're out there day in and day out responding to crimes and investigations, and they're doing their job. They're providing the resources for me to search. And then there's the other side of it. There's the database itself. Again, that's law enforcement taking quality fingerprints at bookings to give us a one-team result. And you take that for granted here. There's a lot of areas that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And it's one of the benefits here. It's our data.
Right.
And it surprises me how legislation can tell us what to do with our data. At the most basic terms, you're going to dictate to an agency what they do with their data. It doesn't get any more basic than that. So, we are reactive to the legislation, and we're doing our best, and we'll continue to go forward because it has significant impact on our community. It's important. It's an important part.
Significant impact. It's hard to quantify if we lost this ability, what we lose as a community, what victims would lose.
Without a doubt.
Every crime you solve, you prevent a few crimes, right? We know that. We're cops. We don't catch the criminal the first time they commit a crime. We're not that good, right?
Yeah.
But the other side of that, the flip side of that, is when we do catch someone, that's preventing 3 or 4 or 5 more crimes down the road. We realize that. You talk about the evidence technicians. We just had a significant grand larceny out in Henrietta. A payloader, if you will, was stolen. And I don't want to get too much into the crime scene investigation, but when it comes out in court, the print that the evidence technician lifted off this case is literally dumbfounding. It's TV material that ended up helping us make the identification with some body-worn camera and stuff that came together. Just a perfect investigation. But to be able to lift that print off this unique item and then deliver that for an identification, it's dumbfounding. I mean, this is stuff movies are made out of. Like, these guys are good. These technicians are good.
They are good, and we can't do anything if we don't have the data.
Right.
And there's another component on S.A.B.I.S that's still magical to me. It's called the unsolved latent file. So if we were to put in a case today and we receive no identifications throughout the state, and actually we can search the whole country through the FBI database, if we do not get an opinion of identification today, that case remains in the system for the statute of limitations of that crime. So once the owner of that fingerprint from the crime scene has a usable fingerprint card down the road, this system will bring it up to my attention on a daily basis, and I do the comparison. And it solves older crimes. It's amazing. So you may have someone in one of the outlying towns, let's say they had their car broken into, a relatively minor crime from the standpoint of everyone on the outside looking in, but to this individual, it could be a significant part of their life, something they'll always remember.
Right.
And we're able to come back 3 or 4 years later and say, that report you filed with us 3 or 4 years ago, we have an answer for you. And the fingerprint on your car is this individual. It's pretty powerful, and it's a great PR tool to say we are relentless. We do not give up on you, and I think that's a big deal when you're considering public safety, the community, and tax base. That's very helpful.
Yeah, victims, right?
It's weird though when you look at a fingerprint, and you realize that there's history behind that. You know what I mean? Like that picture up on the TV, and it's just amazing. That's what I said. It's amazing what you do, and it's amazing that something like that needs. It's a needed fact.
I was mentioning, yes, off camera here.
Oh yeah, that's mine. Sanders to
Steelers?
Yeah, right.
Steelers?
Wow.
Yeah, it's, what you're looking at there on the screen is a sample of friction-ridged skin. So there's two things that allow fingerprints to be used as a means of scientific identification. It's permanence and uniqueness. So no two people have that formation of ridges that you can't tell them apart. And barring injury and growth,
right,
your fingerprints don't change during your lifetime. So it's pretty amazing biology that is connected to law enforcement through technology that we're able to utilize to fulfill, our investigative requirements and to sometimes create our own solvability factors. It's pretty powerful.
So I'm going to show what my age, I guess, or lack of memory, but back in the academy, we learned about the science of fingerprinting, right? We learned about where it developed and started. I'm thinking 1930s maybe. It's not a quiz, but
yeah. So the first case in America where fingerprints were used in a criminal proceeding to lead to a conviction was 1910, People versus Jennings, and it's been around for hundreds of years since then as a means of identification. Yeah. So it has a long-standing history.
That's amazing.
I know. I mean. And how did you know that? Did you prep?
I studied in the academy. 37 years ago, 38 years ago.
Obviously, I think you did all right.
You did all right.
Yeah, it's amazing technology. And we see the advent of DNA and videos and everything else. Everybody's expecting these crimes to be solved, but this is 100-year-old technology we're still using this day.
Yeah, not only is it time tested and true, right, it's accessible to the masses. There's not a lot of complexity here. With the right competency and training, you can train this within your agency. There's, unlike DNA where there's more complexities, it's at a molecular level. I think this is reasonable, and it's forensic science for the masses.
Not bad.
Well, it's just amazing that you're here and you have a second career with us, and we so appreciate it. I hope the community just learns a little bit more about what you're doing to save this project. You're doing a lot of work, and we only scratched the surface of getting this project up and running. That's the accreditation. How many crimes you've solved and how many people you've brought to justice for victims is utterly, I don't even know if we can count that. You probably have all the data in your head, but
yeah, data's in there. I mean, just think about it. If you have a loved one that needs identification, at the morgue, it's important so that you can start that grieving process and bring that to closure. So, that happens on a weekly basis. You have someone at the morgue who's identified, and you have very good workers there taking ink fingerprints. And based on decomposition and the condition of the body, it presents challenges. So, we're providing them answers so that they can, bring some healing and start that process for a waiting family out there. And then in the judicial system, on the temperance side, you have people that are already convicted and they're fighting their sentence. And, we have to go in there and scientifically prove that all the fingerprint cards are related so the judge can make an appropriate decision for sentencing. And then on the criminal side, everything from victims to tax base, we have a commitment to the community to give them answers, a reputable scientific answer on their particular report or crime.
Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you shared a little bit more about what we do here. We finished up. You got anything else, Tiz?
Oh, no.
Do you want to roll your prints real quick? Or?
No, I'm all right. You already seen it with the
You already
S.
seen the S, the Steelers. The Superman or Steelers? Which one was it?
Both.
What was the S called again?
I would say that's probably from Sam Smith.
Yeah, Sam Smith, right?
Yeah. I have a lot of unique examples in the office.
Yeah, I bet you do.
In the core of fingerprints, there's a lot of unusual shapes and animals and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
It's entertaining, yeah. It's
entertaining.
Pretty unique, yeah. It's you can geek out with.
No, I'm looking at my fingerprints. Got a polar bear on there or something.
There's one there.
Is there really?
Yeah, we got a polar bear. I got a dog. Come down and check it out.
Next time we do a tour of the public safety building, we're bringing the group through you.
Absolutely. Coffee pot's always on. Yeah.
That's why I love you. That's why I love you.
Yeah, just stop down.
So we finish up this, we haven't done this in a while, if you guys are ready, the no Miranda zone. That means you don't have a right to remain silent. You have to answer all the questions, right? It's the power of being sheriff. I
guess so.
I don't like to abuse it, but sometimes. So I know you do a lot of work in the veterans community, right?
Yes.
You help out veterans extensively. What's your favorite branch of the military?
All of them. All of them. My father was in the
okay,
Air Force.
I'll go with it now.
I listened to all the arguments between my Marine and Army buddies, so I get a front row seat.
Yeah.
And not having the privilege to serve, it's one of those conversations that I sit silent and I listen because
Very good.
I don't feel I
Very
have the
good
right.
answer. Very good answer.
They tell
Oh,
all
you
the
have the
stories.
right.
Yeah. So I listen to their sacrifices. I listen to, issues that they have following their service, and in some small way, I like to help them out. My father served in Vietnam through the Air Force, so veteran services, very dear to my heart.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I support them through the Webster Fairport Elks, and we do fundraisers for the hospital in Canandaigua, and support them through various breakfasts and dinners, and just to meet them, thank them for their services, and connect them with services that they might need. It's very rewarding to do a little bit to pay them back for their sacrifice.
What's amazing, Tiz, before you get into your no Miranda question is every time we interview someone on that's related to the sheriffs, whether they're still wearing a badge or used to wear, they're all service. They're all service,
yeah.
right?
I didn't know
It's
that,
in
yeah.
our DNA to serve. I really think that. And here's just another example. You're not a veteran, but you serve veterans. That's
Absolutely.
your calling. That's cool. That's very cool.
Well, let me ask you this. Now, if money wasn't an object, what would be your favorite place?
It's not his life, by the way.
What would be your favorite getaway place?
I've already been there. I like to go back to Thailand. I've been back there. That's where I was born. I enjoy going back, enjoying the food, the culture, from the beaches of Pattaya to the mountains of Chiang Mai. I love Thailand.
Really?
Oh, that's cool.
That's very fascinating.
Yeah, Thailand.
Good. I was going to say Key West. I feel kind of,
Key West.
you're kind of bad now.
How about you guys? Where would you go?
Oh.
I mean, that's a good
See, I
question.
told you the hunted become the hunted.
So I don't like going across the water too much. So Cleveland.
From a Steelers fan.
Wow.
Right.
From a Steeler fan?
Oh my God, my wife. She knows I
you're
hate
done.
traveling.
You're done. You're done. Bring all the grandchildren to Cleveland. Huh? Such a grandpa.
You're right.
Yeah, I think we're going to end this show on Cleveland and to all our friends out there. Mike, thanks for what you do. Thanks for persevering through this accreditation. But more importantly, I've known you since, the early 80s, late 80s. You're a pro. No matter, I think everybody doesn't realize that you're a pro no matter what you do, and you always have been, and we appreciate you. Thanks for serving.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Till next week, folks, be safe.